All right, guys, welcome to the Car podcast. I think we're up to episode 3.
Yep.
And we're in the new year, 2023. So welcome to the new year, guys. We wanted to do one earlier, but I was wiped out.
Yep. And we needed a holiday as well. And yeah, as you can tell as well, Matt's recently had some COVID, and we're back at the shop again.
Yep.
So I'll be trying to take over as much as possible, which is going to be a bit of a strange experience for me.
You.
But yeah, the same format as normal, and we're glad to have you back. Thanks for joining us again. But we wanted to kick off with some news. There's been a couple of really big, very interesting things in the car world recently. Unfortunately, Mr. Ken Block, Kenny from the Block, has passed away.
Yeah, it's terrible. I remember when he first came out with the Gymkhana videos, because I didn't really know him from the DC Shoes, even though I did a bit of skating back in the day. I didn't know him from the DC Shoes days. But those Gymkhana videos, they really, they made massive reach, and they were fantastic. I mean, just watched the recent one with the. Have you seen the one with the old school Subaru?
Yeah, with Travis Pastrana.
Again.
Yeah. Look, Kenny from the Block. I was watching an old Top Gear episode. That's a reference.
Oh, yeah.
A callback. Ken Block really introduced this whole generation to sort of drifting, rallying, just stunting with cars in general. And it's amazing to see what he's done as well. So all the way from his first video, which was probably a couple of $1,000 production.
Yeah, and I think it was about 14 years ago or something like that, so a little while ago.
2008 or something. And then all the way through to the most recent one, and the series that they've gone, where the cars are custom built for this purpose.
Fantastic
The
car.
production value is incredible. So yeah, really interested to see what happens with Hoonigan going forward, but a really sad loss.
Yeah, very sad. So may rest in peace, and hopefully, the family come to terms with the loss. And I think his daughter's been getting involved in some of the videos as well. Wish them and the family all the best.
Yeah.
So very sad news to start off the year, but we've got some other news, and you were telling me about Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah,
what he's been up to.
Yeah, another case of foot and mouth disease for Jeremy Clarkson. Got in a whole bunch of trouble last week for insulting Meghan Markle in his Sunday Times column, but it actually prompted me to do a bit of research. So my partner and I were having a good debate about whether Jeremy Clarkson was a horrible human being, and I tend to agree with her for the most part.
Oh, okay.
But
I think it's fantastic.
He's funny as you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But when you look back at some of his stunts from previous eras, they really haven't aged well. So.
Okay. So I look at him like he's like a shock jock. He's just out there to get attention any which way he can, and there are a few people that can use words the way he does.
Yeah, and I think I came to the conclusion mentally, even though I don't agree with most of the stuff that he's done in the past, I think he's one of the few people that could actually get away with it now. And I think this most recent incident is by far not even close to bad enough to warrant his cancellation, but maybe some of those older incidents.
So what did he do?
Well, when he got fired from Top Gear and punched the producer over. When you hear the full story, it turns out it was about 10 o'clock at night, and he arrived back at the hotel, requested a steak dinner, couldn't get it because the kitchen was closed, and then continued to insult the producer over and over, and then punched him in the face. That caused the firing from Top Gear. And way back, if you look some of the old Top Gear episodes, he was actually a bit of a cretin, even on the interviews. So there's a couple of interviews with some very famous female actresses that have not aged as well as you'd think.
No.
So
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. So the most recent thing, I think, not a big problem, realistically, in the history of Clarkson, but just looking back at all of the crazy things he's done.
They all align, hey?
Yeah,
Bit
it's-
of reputation mismanagement.
Exactly.
And so what did he say about Meg Markle
Well,
this time?
apparently, in his Sunday Times column, he said that he dislikes or he hates Meghan Markle more than the former Scottish Liberal Labour something party
I
leader,
don't pay attention to that, but
another
yeah.
female leader,
Right, okay.
and even more than a famous English serial killer,
Oh,
which I think is kind of funny actually.
yeah.
And then he said that she should be shamed in the same way that one of the characters in Game of Thrones was.
Yep. Remember that episode?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, I wish I'd watched it now because I'd have a bit of context, but yeah, it's just kind of a nothing story
So,
for Clarkson.
If I remember the Game of Thrones episode, the character he's walked through whatever they did wrong. They walk through the streets of the town, and someone's got a bell walking ahead of them, and
Yeah.
she's naked, and they're ringing the bell, and they're just going shame, 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 and she's walking along.
Yeah, and
So
even
that's what he wants.
even before that, I thought that was just a historic reference until I did some digging.
Yep.
But yeah, and then there was something else that you wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah. So there's news that's been released of a new car brand coming out, which is called Afeela, AFEELA, and it's a combination of Sony and Honda.
Yeah, interesting.
So Honda, they've got some fantastic engineering. They make great cars, and then Sony, well, they make the PlayStation. So. PlayStation, cars, what more could you want? It'd be like
Yeah.
Gran Turismo.
Well, I actually saw down at Cars and Coffee at the end of last year. I actually saw a little Honda EV, an import.
Yep, I saw that. Yep.
That had screens all in the dash anyway, and there was a kid in there playing. Well, you shouldn't say this with the brand deal. There was a kid in there playing Mario on the dash.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
You'd
it's,
be playing Crash Bandicoot or something like that.
Yeah,
Switch it
something a bit
around,
more
get
PlayStation.
across to PlayStation. Yeah.
but yeah, it's probably not the worst team up going around because Sony makes everything and anything.
The tech experts,
Yeah.
and I think they were building to come up with tech solutions that they could provide the industry. But I think it's just grown to something that's bigger than that.
Yeah.
The way they came out with the PlayStation back in the day, and I remember, I'm old enough, I remember when the first PlayStation came out, it was really a big drive where Sony got to put computer chips in in a lot of households, in every living room.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to increase their reach to the automotive world. And if you're like me, you probably spend at least an hour a day in the car, so it's a significant portion of our life. Spending time in cars, and they've got a touch on it.
Yeah, well, and look, all the new cars have hundreds of screens in them anyway.
Yeah,
so
more
it's
and more.
probably not a
Yep.
big stretch. So
Yep.
even with that, I think we talked about it maybe in our first episode, the Mercedes, what do they call it, Hyperscreen or something, stretches across the entire dashboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that'd be.
So cool things coming ahead.
Yeah.
I think they're expected to start releasing cars in 2025. So this
Yeah,
is
it's
in the
pretty
future.
pretty short runway for a new car, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say they've been preparing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, we always like to talk a little bit about a recall or a bit of safety items that have been going around at the moment. And you brought up with me a new Kia transmission recall recently, which looks a bit interesting. And it actually reminded me of a Ford recall as well. So, a 2-for-1 deal today. Probably not in the best way.
This is why I like manual.
So turns out some of the new Sorrentos and some of the other SUVs from Kia have had a production fault with their printed circuit boards.
Yeah.
Causes the oil pump to fail.
Kind of need oil.
Yeah, if you know anything about autos, they rely all their shifting and all their transmission of power on hydraulic line pressure.
Yep.
So if you've got an electronic oil pump failure, you lose line pressure, apparently the car just stops moving. So
There you go.
kind of a shit outcome for for Kia on that one, but
So if you have a Kia Sorento, just maybe have a chat to your dealer,
yeah,
and you can check a lot of these recalls online. I think the government's got a specific page for it, and you can see if your car is within they usually provide a VIN number range or something like
Yeah.
that. Yep.
but and onto the Ford one as well. So that was we've talked about Ford 2 videos in a row now.
Yeah, they're on fire.
That was on the Focuses and Fiestas and maybe some of the Mondeos. The DPS6 box, the power shift.
Not so much the Mondeo. I think it's the smaller ones.
Yeah,
smaller
must
cars.
be.
Yeah.
But I remember I worked next to a Ford dealer quite some time ago, and I remembered seeing a lot of these Focuses and Fiestas come through. And I recently have started seeing issues with these again, with some of our vehicle owners we see.
Yep.
So Ford has some problems with I think it's transmission control or with the clutch packs themselves.
Yep.
It's been causing some really harsh shifting conditions and can actually end up breaking the transmission entirely.
Was this the one where they're trying to select multiple gears at the same time?
It's something like that, or it just doesn't engage, or when it does finally engage, it
Yep.
engages so hard that it just stalls or jerks away from the line. So,
Yeah. Yep.
really horrible sort of driving condition for a transmission that was billed as being for the future.
Yeah, they really marketed that one hard, didn't they?
Yep,
But
but
didn't work.
I'd again check for the recalls on that one. There was actually a humongous class action lawsuit.
Because weren't they were so they'd come in to get them fixed, and then they were just replacing the old one with the exact same one which hadn't had the fixes applied.
Yeah, and I think that's actually something that they ended up doing with the Takata recall as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, because they couldn't engineer a fix for the Takata recall quick enough, I think they were just replacing them with a as new unit as an intermediate fix. But I don't know. That
Just
might
kicking
just
the
be,
can down the road, isn't it?
Might just be a rumor that I heard somewhere.
Yeah, need to validate. Yeah. Understand. Okay. Well,
Safety.
safety.
Yeah, there's something that we've recently gone on a road trip, my partner and I, for our Christmas break.
Yep.
And something that I always think to do before we go away, make sure that I've got a couple of tools or something in the car for emergencies.
Absolutely.
So, is there something that you've had a similar experience with?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to go down the jump pack road, and I've done it. I was silly. I had a fancy audio setup, and I had a light, like a blue light, in the boot of my car, and it was on a switch.
Yep.
And I accidentally left it on.
It wouldn't have happened to be in like the mid 2000s.
No, more recent than that, actually. Would you believe? I still live in the mid 2000s, but no, actually the car was at the airport. I was away for a couple of days, came back, nothing, and I had the previous model of that one there, and it saved me. It got the thing going, and it's you see sometimes like in shopping centre car parks and that sort of stuff, you see people broken down on the side, and I know I've got a couple tools in my car, so just go have a chat to them. So, they got the bonnet up, trying to work out what's going on, and it's surprising. Battery's just a simple one just to get going. So you got that in your car, you can save yourself, you can save other people.
Yeah, and
very handy.
I've always been a fan of having jumper cables in the car, but especially if you're a younger single, potentially even more likely female. Having a jump pack in the car where you don't have to rely on someone else stopping to help you is a big safety item.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a town that you don't know, or in an area that there's not a lot of people. So, jump pack's a good one to have. Like we've mentioned in the past as well, a torque wrench maybe, or a socket to undo the wheels.
Yep.
And at a big stretch, I'd always like to throw a fan belt or something really simple in the boot.
Well, you can get, so if you're going on a trip and you're going out to like remote areas and that sort of thing, you can buy kits, and they'll have a couple of your main hoses, and also like your main fan belt or something like that, and they come in a little bag, and away you go.
That's a brilliant idea.
So yeah, they are out there. You just got to ask the guys, and they can find them for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing that we should mention as a part of the safety going away actually goes into our next item as well. Cooling systems, coolant.
Yep. Yep.
You've recently said that you had a problem with one of your cars as well.
Yeah. So it's a constant challenge. But before we move on, I just want to quickly, because I'm the product man, I got to show this. Okay, so this is the SJS 1200. I believe it's the middle of the range model that they've got. And when you're choosing jump starters, so lithium jump starters, it's tiny. It's I don't have it in the box, but it's about yay big. About as big as my hand, I guess. This will start a car. Hang on, we've got this. Okay, it will start a 6-litre petrol. And a 2.8 litre diesel. So if you've got a diesel, you just need to know that you need something a little bit more gutsy to get it up and going. But we've even used these to start HSVs with bigger than 6-litre engines on them, so they're capable.
Most of the time, the battery's not entirely dead either, so just a little bit of helper.
Just enough to get it going.
A lot of these new jump starters, I don't know about this one exactly, they don't need to be recharged that often because they're a lithium-ion battery, so they're happy to sit for maybe up to a month in the back of the car. And they'll also recharge off the car's battery.
So this one, certainly lithium battery, so it'll hold charge for a real long time. It comes with a car charger, 240-volt wall charger. It's got cords for your phone, but it won't charge up off your battery unless you plug it into your cigarette lighter. But there are capacitor-based units, and the capacitor-based units, they will use like very low voltage, like 10 volts or something will be enough to charge them. You let them charge up, and then they can reutilise that power at a higher voltage and get a car started.
Yeah, because I know that at least the one that I've used recently, if you jump start a car with it, you can leave it plugged in for about 45 seconds, and it's meant to bring that charge back up to at least 50% of what you've used. So,
SP Tools have a really good one that does a similar feature to that.
Yeah, there's a huge range, but I'm sure that's on a good deal at the moment anyway.
Yeah, these we have on good deals on a constant sort of basis, so they're a real, and that's what I keep in my car as well. So they're handy. And then of course we got the jump leads over there, and they're just a simple jump lead, and the thing you need to know is the amperage of it and also the length of it. Just keep that in mind. So it's 2.5 metre long. There's 400 amp this one, and they just give a bit of guidance. So 6 or 8 cylinder car. Better to go something a bit bigger if you can. But handy to have. And they're cheap. So if you don't want to spend over $100 for something like this, you can buy that for anywhere from $20 to $40.
Yeah, exactly, and that's perfect to get you in an emergency, and with the
that's what we used to do. We always had those in the car.
And with safety ratings nowadays, 400 amps. While it's rated at that, in a pickle you might get away with a little bit over. But some of the really good things you can look for in a set of jumper cables as well is the isolation protection. So that's checking that you've got it hooked up the right way. With new cars with computers in, you can do a lot of damage hooking them up backwards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you can get higher amperage rated with protected handles and such, which is a great thing. But you increase your budget, obviously.
So it just depends on what you want. And with putting them on, so obviously the colours, you match them up, and your earth is always your last. That's completes the connection. So that's the first thing that comes off, last thing that goes on.
Yeah, that's
so
a little
straightforward.
rhyme I was taught as an apprentice is a good one for you guys. Why is positive so positive? Positive's always first to the party and last to leave. So
there you go.
Perfect little
after
mnemonic device.
Add that one to the memory. Cool.
But you were saying you had some cooling issues with one of your cars recently.
Yeah. So it's been a challenge. Summer, in traffic. It's car's probably not built to be in the city in summer. But temperature's getting high, so just keeping an eye on things. And I did a few tricks just to bring the fan on a little bit earlier. I've changed the radiator cap as well. That's probably the first thing you go for when you start having heat issues. You make sure your fan's working, radiator cap's good. But it's is probably something I need to keep troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've already talked about a couple of solutions for that, but it's actually something that's a real problem, especially in Queensland in summer, is overheating. And yours might be just a case of a bigger engine, smaller radiator car that wasn't designed to be stopped so much. It's more of a weekend car. But you do make a couple of really good points, and we've talked about a product that we don't have here today, which is called Water Wetter.
Ooh, I should have a look to see if I've got it. Yeah.
Yep, Water Wetter. And I remember from back in the days of doing.
I've got it.
You do?
Yeah, we got Water Wetter. We'll have to bring it out on a future episode.
Yep. I remember back in the days of racing, you can bring temperatures down, a good few degrees. Just by adding that to existing coolant. But a couple of really important things to make sure are good. First and foremost, like Matt was saying, radiator cap. These are way more important than you'd actually ever think. So, because the cooling system's pressurized, that's your pressurization valve, your pressurization stopper. If you lose pressure, then your system tends to boil over very quickly, and that's going to be the first major cause of overheating, something you can check and change at home for usually under $20, which is great preventative maintenance.
First thing to do.
And then a couple of things that I've seen really bad lately are old water pumps. So Matt's grabbed out this one for us lately. And you can see the brilliant thing about these quality aftermarket parts, and also the weak point, steel impellers. So steel impeller, less likely for brittle failure, less likely for, generic failure, that sort of thing. But they also just rust. So a couple of ones I've seen lately, rusted the impeller blades almost entirely away. It's quite a difficult issue to diagnose, because it could be a couple of things, blockages or radiator or something like that.
Without pulling it apart.
But good thing to check, good thing to replace maybe every 150,000 kilometres if it's not done with a timing belt. And interestingly, all of the problems that we see with water pumps, with these steel blade impeller water pumps, actually comes back to coolant.
There you go. It's there for a reason.
Yeah. So, do you want to show us some of the products you've got over there?
Yeah. Okay. So, I might start from this side. I'll just have to lift it up. Okay. So, this is probably the most common one. So it's your green long life coolant. So this one here. And this is a premix. So you usually have your concentrate and your premix. So your concentrate you mix with like demineralized water, and you can get a ratio of 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. So that's 1 to 3. Your 5 litres will make 15. So you can check to see how much your car holds. But this is a premix one, so you just drop it straight in. Most common one out there, probably a lot of your older cars will use this one. And it all depends on the metal that's that's in your car, so your motor and whatever it's called.
Yeah, so green premix, it's really by the manufacturer's recommendation. So if you can either check what colour's in your car for a start, or you can even just check with Penrite's app or check with Newlon's app, or same as always. But premix, I think, is probably one of the better products for the home gamer. So,
it's just easy.
Yeah, with your concentrate, you might end up saving yourself a bit of money, but you also have to figure out the concentration levels on the side of the road, or wherever you're doing some work, or wherever you've broken down. The benefit with concentrate is that if you've got different climates, you can accommodate. So a 50-50 mix might deal with cold weather better. But premix, you can just throw it in the boot and forget about it.
Don't need to give it a thought. So yeah, that's the most common one that we would sell. This is the red, another premix, and this one here. We probably see these more so used in like kind of modern, more modern GMs and stuff
We're
like that.
talking
Yeah,
American design, so probably GM, Mopar, Ford vehicles a
Yep.
fair few use. And then the really weird one you've got there, which is purple.
Purple. Yes. So, well, you can tell me a little bit about this one. What
Actually,
do you see this in?
I don't know that I've ever had to use purple, but apparently it's for some of the very new Volkswagens, some of the very new VAG products, so Lamborghini, Audi, Bentley. I'm not exactly sure what else, but
So, if you got a Lamborghini, you want to update the coolant in there, I'm your guy. We've got this stuff here.
yeah, and I'm sure you probably pay a little bit more to have the privilege of a Lamborghini coolant in your Volkswagen, but
Yeah. Yeah, and price-wise, I mean, they'll be the cheapest, and it's just ascending from there.
yeah.
Yep.
But there's actually a really interesting product here. If you're in a pickle and you don't know what's going on at all, universal top-up. So this is a pretty new product, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a few years old now, but this one here is it's the one that suits all. So this is just a ready-to-use one. So you're not sure, your car's not like where you are when you're shopping to buy this thing, or you're just going to a servo and they don't have much of a range or something like that. This one here will cover everything.
Yeah.
So it's a safe bet. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's I suppose a peace of mind thing and not choosing the wrong thing, because choose the wrong thing and then you put it in there, you work it out, and then you got to drop it and do it again. So it's just there might be savings by doing it once, not twice.
Yeah, and I've actually seen and heard stories of people putting green in where red should be.
Yep.
And it actually can cause leaks down the road or something like that. So it might be the gasket materials designed for.
Yeah.
But coolant is definitely something really important to look at. And it's not just for the fact that it cools the engine. It's also a big lubrication factor, and its main purpose is rust prevention, or its second main purpose is rust prevention. So,
which is what you're seeing with the water pumps.
With the water pumps,
there might be a case where their coolant is probably being used too long, or maybe they're just using water or something like that, and then you start seeing the rust down the road.
Yeah, so if you're not seeing a nice bright-ish, it's not going to be quite always quite as bright as this, but if you're not seeing a bright coloured coolant, then you've probably been diluted with water a fair bit. Just check on that, because you can end up with a lot more expensive problem down the road when this fails, and you end up with rust clogging the radiator. So
that's probably you got other problems.
Yeah, and that's probably our final product.
And when this leaks, and you're starting to get lower levels, obviously you're going to start having heat issues because you don't have it cycling around.
Yeah.
You can pick it up by the heat, but maybe before that you can pick it up by the smell or the colour of what's being left on your garage floor.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's like a sweet smell.
Yeah, actually, it's a most coolants are an ester ether glycol base, so they're incredibly poisonous to humans.
Absolutely.
But the glycol factor is sort of similar to glucose, I believe. So it ends up giving it that really sweet smell, and if you've ever unfortunately tasted it, it's quite sweet as well. A horrible sweet, and it's...
Don't add it to your coffee.
The forbidden green Kool-Aid.
The forbidden green. The forbidden fruit, we'll call it.
But yeah, so big problems that I've been seeing lately. In fact, a couple of water pumps in the last few months.
Yeah, we might. You show me some images. So Lachlan's got some images of jobs he's worked on where it hasn't been looked after, and we might just throw them up and show, so you've got a bit of an idea of what it gets to.
Yeah. Yep. Now there is a point at which you can't save a clogged radiator. There is a point at which you have to sort of just look at replacing things.
Yep.
But the final product we want to look at today can get you out of most of these situations. So if you're going to change the coolant anyway, maybe look at this radiator flush.
Yeah, it's just a maintenance product. Just keep everything cool and flowing, and if it's not flowing well, it's not going to be cooling as well as what it can. So yeah, this is just one that you run through, and just on directions. So you drain it, then you refill it, and then you add this in, and you run it for 10-15 minutes, and then you drop it again. So it's just pretty straightforward. If you're already into the service, you might as well do this.
I haven't looked specifically at this product, but I think it's probably got some sort of corrosion converter, maybe a corrosion inhibitor product in it.
Yep.
Probably some sort of detergent, which would make a lot of sense. And the whole goal is to just break down as much of that stuff, because if you can't get the coolant flowing through the radiator or through the water pump, or through the thermostat even, you're going to end up with the same overheating problem.
Yep. Yep. So good item to use.
And for the sake of $20 or $30, if you're going to spend the afternoon changing your coolant anyway, just go and do it. You'll have a lot better, a lot more reliable car in the future.
Yeah. Get better performance. So that's what we like to see. And was there anything else that we've...
I don't think so. I think we've actually managed to get through everything.
Covered everything.
Pretty well.
Did we talk about the radiator? Oh, no, we did radiator caps, thermostat.
We didn't so much, but this is a problem that the home gamer is probably not going to see so much. They are pretty easy to change on most vehicles. However, the newer thermostats are not as common for failure. So
yeah, right.
In the olden days, you might have seen a thermostat fail every, I don't know, 100, 150,000 Ks. Really, it's kind of like the second, third, fourth thing that I'm looking at in the system nowadays.
Yeah, okay.
90% of the problems that we're seeing as mechanics are leak related or misuse related.
Yep.
The only time that we're seeing these fail regularly seems to be with the GM products at the moment. So
yeah, right. Okay.
I'm sure you're selling a lot of thermostat housing assemblies for the 1.8 litre Cruisers and Traxxas.
Yeah, I'd have to have a look, but we certainly do sell a lot of that product.
Yeah. The 1.8 GM products, they unfortunately used a plastic housing, electronically controlled thermostat.
Yep.
So the thermostat housing cracks or leaks, causes some problems. And that's all we're seeing. So most of the time it's not a problem, but with those GM products, definitely something to look out for.
Keep an eye on it. Yeah. So keep an eye on you. I mean, sometimes we forget about it when we've had a good run, but it is worthwhile just keeping a bit of an eye on your temperature and just to make sure that your water temp's sort of staying consistent.
Yeah, definitely. And make sure it's not going up.
Yep.
Also make sure it's not going down.
Yep.
So that's two very bad conditions to have.
Yep.
Going up is the first sign of a problem. Going down is the second very big sign of a problem.
Okay. All right.
So
when you notice either one of these,
stop straight away. Coolant temperature sensors are registering coolant passing.
Yep.
If there's no coolant, the gauge drops to 0.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So your temperature sender unit might not be working if it's going down.
Yep.
And there's no control. If it's an electronically controlled thermostat, there's no control over that function.
That can be bad as well.
Or you're just in the dark and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. With the thermostats, that you'll notice some numbers, and usually the first number on there, this one is TT 2003. That's sort of like the size and design of the unit, and then the next number -195. That'll be like a Fahrenheit activation sort of number. So sometimes what people will do is if they want it to turn on a little bit earlier, they'll get one that's 185 or 175 or something like that, just depending on what you're trying to do. So there are some tricks out there. You have the recommended one, which is what they'd likely have from the factory, and then there's some other directions you can go.
Yeah, there is a great thing if you know that number as well, or if you can find out your opening temperature and you've got a concern with the thermostat, bring a pot of water to that temperature on the stove, just drop it in and see if it opens. If you've got actual concerns, then that can solve them pretty quick.
Yep. No, that's a good point. Yep. Very good. Well, I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover today, but we look forward to catching up with you guys next time, and certainly look forward to any comments, suggestions, if there's something you want us to cover. You've got Lachlan here from Kashi. He's working on cars every day, so he sees a wide range of issues that are happening with cars, and he can give good advice as to how to address them. And then myself, I'm the product guy, so if you have any interesting questions about products, we can certainly do a bit of a show and tell and talk about the intricacies of products as well.
Yeah, and let us know. I think we've already got some people lined up that we would like to try and have on the podcast in the new year. But anyone you'd like to see on here as an additional as well. Yeah.
Yep, excellent.
We'll see what we can do.
All right, well, thank you, Lachlan, and we'll see you all later.
Have a good week.